welcome back. So if you spent some time mining some reviews, we're going to have some raw material to jumpstart our categorizing. So I'm going to show you how to break it down and categorize it under the rest of those lists in this board. And this is probably just going to make a whole lot more sense if I go through an example. So I'm going to switch over to my screen here. So this is actually a review from an online course. So here's some raw material. Within days of starting course, I already sold my first customer on my done for you service. This beats negotiating costs, being paid hourly, and client nitpicking. I've already saved so much time now that I'm streamlining, outsourcing, and creating passive monthly recurring revenue. Now this is actually a really good one. So remember what we're looking for. We want to look for 3 high-level elements. We're looking for anywhere in the text where the user speaks about the problem they're having, the things associated with that problem that agitate them, and anything that describes the solution to the problem. This is actually a really good example of how with raw material, some cards can contain more than one. And in those cases, we're going to split them into multiple cards under our problem, agitation, and solution lists. So let me just demonstrate what I mean. So first, we're looking for a problem, and this one's pretty clear. Within days of starting course, I already sold my first customer. This beats negotiating costs, being paid hourly, and client nitpicking. So that second paragraph there is a really clear description of what their reality looked like before they had the solution to this problem. This beats negotiating costs, being paid hourly, and client nitpicking. So I would copy that, close out of the raw material card, and I would put that in the title area of a new card under the problem list. So just open the new card and paste the text into the title area. So just as a note, this is different to the raw material list where we copied the text into the description section, but that we had a really structured title for where the information came from. In this case, we're just copying our text block into the title area so that we end up with a block of info that we can clearly see at a glance. When we have all of these cards done, we can clearly read at a glance whether it's what the problem is, what the solution is, what the agitation is on the front of the card. But since we're not adding that title info to the card, we still need to be able to track back where it came from, and we need to be able to go back and reference the material. So maybe we're updating our board, maybe we're creating new messaging, maybe we're making sure that it's all still current, maybe something's changed in our business. We want to eliminate the messaging that's not current. So we still need to be able to track this back to the raw material that it came from. And so to do that, with the back of the card open like this, you just want to click on attachment over here on the right-hand side, and then select Trello from the list. Now, once you've clicked on that, Trello is going to offer you a selection of cards, and then underneath the cards, boards. Okay. Now, obviously, we want to select a card that's within the board that we're within, and so that's what the cards are at the top that it shows you. If we had opened more cards recently, they would all show up in that list as well. So what we want to do is we want to select the raw material card that this text was cut from, which is nice and easy because the last card you had open is the one at the top of the list. So if you've done this in that order, then this one at the top of the list is going to be the raw material card that this text came from. So you just click on that, and that's going to pop it on there. So this is a nice visual representation of the raw material card. So you can see down here it says it's from the Review Mining My Brand board from the raw material list. So this is still in our problem card here. So it shows the attachment. Now there's one final step under this new attachment that we want to do. We want to click Connect Cards, and we want to click Relate Both Cards. So what did we just do? We made it so that when we're using these mind reviews, whether we're writing copy, whether we're making business decisions, whether we're making brand decisions, anytime we want to see the larger context, anytime we want to track back where this came from, we can open any card and we can instantly click back to where it came from. And so if I click on this raw material, because we clicked that connect card and then relate both cards, the same thing happened on the raw material card in relation to our new problem card. So now they're completely linked. So wherever we are, we can see what cards are related to what other cards. So when we're optimizing our raw material cards, either removing stuff or adding new stuff or making sure it's current, we can instantly see on the back of every card which problems, agitations, or solution cards they're associated with. So once you've mined the problem, so we're still here on our raw material card. Once you've mined the problem, you want to move on and you want to see if there's anything related to agitation or solution before we close this card and move on to the next bit of raw material. So in this case, there's not really any agitation in this particular mined review. I guess you could, at a stretch, you could say that negotiating costs and being paid hourly were the problem, while client nitpicking is an agitation. But I would classify all of those as the problem, especially given that we're trying to collect client verbiage as they said it, right? So I would just classify all that as the problem. I don't think that I can see anything here that I would call an agitation. So we're going to move on to the solution. So within days of starting the course, I already sold my first customer on my done for your service. This beats negotiating costs, blah, blah, blah. I've already saved so much time now that I'm streamlining, outsourcing, and creating passive monthly recurring revenue. So that last paragraph saved so much time that I'm streamlining, outsourcing, and creating passive monthly recurring revenue. Just like before, I would copy that text, close out of the raw material card, and then go over to the solution pre-sort list here and just create a new card. Again, we want to open it up. We want to click Attachment, Trello. The top one, again, is where we just came from. Connect cards and relate both cards. So the raw material card that we had just selected this from is now connected to this card as well as the solution card. And you can see that by the little number 2 down here that's represented on this visual representation of the raw material card. So we can see that our original raw material card has been used for at least 2 other lists, or 2 other cards which are likely in 2 other lists. So if we click on that and we go back to that raw material, we can now jump around to wherever we like. We can jump back to our raw material here and see that there was also a problem card associated with this raw material card. We can click on that problem card to go and have a look at that. And then at any time we want, we can just click straight back to the raw material. So the whole point behind all of this linking is to make sure that all this information that we're gathering, because you don't typically gather all this in one sitting. This is going to become a business asset for you. This is a never-ending business asset. So we want to make sure that whenever we come back to this asset, all of the information that we've gathered is easily traceable. So we can jump around and easily track where all of our decisions and our information came from at any time. So that's step 1. You just want to go through every single one of your mind reviews and categorize them into those 3 high-level lists: problem, agitation, and solution pre-sorted. Okay? Don't worry about the rest of the solution yet. So I only had that one review ready. You would go through, if we had other material on the back of this stuff, you would go through and do the exact same thing and mine it into problem, agitation, and solution. That's step 1. Once you've done step 1, we want to scroll across here for step 2. And that is, obviously, we're going to categorize our solution pre-sort into the 4 different varieties of how we describe the solution, okay? So this is going to be how people describe the solution, the specific value that people get from the solution, how it makes life better instantly, and how it makes life better in the long run. So again, we're only looking at this solution pre-sort list. So we're ignoring everything we've done here. As far as we're concerned, this step's been finished, and now we're only looking at solution pre-sort for step 2 of this process. So when you're sorting these into the 4 different categories, don't overthink it. You just want top of mind, immediate decisions, okay? There's no one list here that is any more important than the others, and they can always be moved later. So rely on instinct and just drag them to wherever makes the most sense. So in this example, save so much time now that I'm streamlining, outsourcing, and creating passive monthly recurring revenue. I would put that in the how life gets better in the long run. And I'm just going to drag it over there. So unlike the raw material where you were copying and you were pasting and you were keeping the original card and then copying into a new card, in this case, we're just moving the cards. So by the time you finished this, when you finished categorizing all of these solution pre-sorts, that solution pre-sort list should be completely empty. Okay, so I want you to keep going until that solution pre-sort list is completely empty and all of your solution pre-sorted stuff is under one of those 4 lists. And when you've done that, we're going to move on to the next lesson where we're going to combine all of the work that we've done so far into a niche statement for your business. So get these solutions categorized and then head over to the next lesson and I'll show you how to use all of this newfound insight to actually define your profitable niche. I'll see you there.